Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. We're going to launch into an issue that we touched on in the last video about when it's okay to check into what's going on with somebody else. This is something that we run into all the time. We all have all sorts of relationships, whether they be with family, with partners, with coworkers, with neighbors. And so these often are concerns that people bring to the tarot table. So having a consciousness or an awareness about what's okay to peek into and what isn't okay is a good parameter for anybody who's going to read tarot. So I'm just going to offer up some rules of thumb here. I think everybody needs to come up with their own set of ethics, their own set of what I will do, what I won't do, what I will look at, what I won't look at, that kind of thing. Some people don't like to address health issues. Some people don't like to address certain relationship issues. These are the choice that you have as somebody who reads tarot. But when it comes to checking into other people's business, let me start with the places where I do feel comfortable doing that. And the first one is with parents and children. The bond between parents and children is strong, and a lot of times parents need to know what's really going on with my child. Are they okay? What's the dynamic? So that's kind of a good question to start with any sort of close relationship that we have which impacts us. And I think that that's an important must have. Does this impact me? Is this something I'm asking about because it's important to me? It impacts my life, it impacts my feelings, my decisions, my choices, things like that. Clearly, if it doesn't do any of that, you should stay away from it. But let's do the don'ts in the later part of this video. Let's talk about places where it might be appropriate and useful to look at what's going on with somebody else. So a good way to address a relationship question that is close to you, important to you, making a difference in how you move through your life are questions like, to pull a couple of cards, 2 or 3 probably, for what's going on with so-and-so. How are they really feeling? Is my child okay at school? My daughter's acting weird. Can I get a couple of cards for what might be going on with her? That sort of thing. A good question to ask in any kind of relationship question is, what does so-and-so need from me? And so that's a good question because it puts the onus back on us. What do they need from me? Not necessarily what's going on with them. Tell me about them. But tell me what I can do for my friend, for my daughter, for my coworker, that sort of thing. The other way to ask it, which again puts the onus on us, rather than tell me what's going on with them, so the better question there is, what do I need to know about what's going on with them? Because that's my part in it. That's my little sector of their life that I connect with them with. What do I need to know about what's going on with them? So that sort of clears the air of any bad boundary kind of issues, because I'm asking about me. What do I need to know? Not anything in particular about them. So those kinds of ideas, I hope, will help you create useful, positive ways of looking at relationship issues or situations with other people without being too intrusive. Some real red flags about when we know it's maybe something we should avoid is, am I just asking out of curiosity? I'm just kind of wondering. Any sentence that starts out with that probably is something we should avoid. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering. Am I being nosy? Am I being trying to prove a point? Is there something about that I think is going on that I want some confirmation on? Not really helpful there. Is it an invasion of privacy? Are we really kind of poking into an area that we shouldn't be? Red flags. Another thing to think about is it harmful? sometimes when we look at too closely something that might be going on for somebody else, number one, we could get the wrong idea. We could get bad information. We could be misinterpreting something from our own filter. So that can be problematic. Is it something that's going to create anger or tension between me and this person if I look at something that maybe I should just leave alone? So these kinds of things give you a good idea in terms of red flags. Another thing to think about is that, kind of good neighbor policy. Would I want somebody asking that question about me? Think about that when you're asking about somebody else. How would I feel if somebody was looking at me through a certain lens to try to gain some information about me and what's going on in my life? Boundary issues, really important in so many ways in the tarot. So again, food for thought. Maybe I'll call this little series of videos food for thought. Boundaries. It's okay to ask about other people. We're connected to people. It's part of the human pleasure of being human, and also the problem of being human. We have so many ways that we're connected and related to other people. And sometimes we need guidance about what's really going on there. If you can frame your question in a way that puts the power back in your hands, that puts the information in your hands and less about the other person, the better off you're going to be. All right, hope that's helpful, something to think about. We'll see you next time.